Hi everyone, thanks for coming to CAP's Silip Sining Roundtable discussion. So we'll be starting with a short introduction about Concerned Artists of the Philippines, just for those of you who aren't very familiar with the organization just yet. And from there, we'll move on to the talk proper, because Neil Deloricon won't be able to join us today. He had pressing family concerns to attend to. So we'll be moving on straight to the roundtable with our resource persons, but we'll try to tease out some of the issues that Sir Deloricon was meant to deal with in his talk. No? Primarily dealing with art fairs and auctions. Yeah, so where's Duffy? Yeah, we'll be talking to Duffy a lot about that later. So to introduce CAP, here's Lujay Sonido.
Hi.
From our Musicians Collective.
Hello. Some pictures. Hi, my name is Lujay. CAP would like to formally welcome everyone to this talk. We thank you for coming in spite of the rain. We know how those things happen in these months, so we're glad to see you here. Concerned Artists of the Philippines is an organization of artists and cultural workers. It was established in 1983 during the height of the martial law period. Some of its pioneering members include Lino Bronca and Ishmael Bernal, two of our national artists for film. And primarily it was formed to protest, struggle against the intense censorship laws at that time. So more than 30 years since, CAP has continued to work with musicians, artists, writers, painters, etc. For various types of artists, in order to to promote art, not simply as something that exists for itself, but also art that is inevitably situated, grounded in society and its issues, as always aligned with or part of the people's movement. We of course recognize that art is always a part of social transformation and inevitably a cultural revolution. So this talk is actually part of a series of talks called CAP Silip Sining. Silip meaning to peek, or to try and get a glimpse of, a sense of the state of culture and arts in the Philippines today. So today we're focusing on visual arts, and so we have a lineup of illustrious artists, scholars to talk to us today. So we hope that, we know that today will be a very productive discussion. And I hope inevitably we find ourselves, again, constantly being part of social transformation as artists, as scholars, as cultural workers. Thank you very much and welcome.
So before we begin, I'd like to thank Planting Rights for helping organize the event, Artery for providing the venue, Discurso for their coverage, and all my other friends in CAP, and of course you guys for coming, despite the rain. So, okay ka rin sila? So, I want to briefly introduce our resource persons. First we have Eileen Legazpi Ramirez from the Department of Art Studies at the University of the Philippines, Diliman. She was former head lead curator of the Lopez Museum and now is one of the heads behind the curatorial platform called Back to Square One. Duffy Osental, who used to be an educational associate at the Ayala Museum and is now editor-in-chief of Art Plus magazine, formerly also known as CAP magazine. Contemporary Arts Philippines, in case you didn't know. Mark Gustiniani, one of the more prominent, younger. Who was a member of two very industrious and active groups at different points, the Abay Collective and the Sali Pusa Group. No? We have Professor Leo Abaya of the UP College of Fine Arts, whose multimedia work extends to cinema and theater, and Renan Ortiz, who will be joining us, helping me facilitate this talk. Yeah. Okay. So first, the talk is entitled "If Art is a Hammer." We took the title from this declaration by Bertolt Brecht, saying that art is not a mirror to reflect society, but it is a hammer with which to shape it. Yeah. So if it is indeed a hammer, so we thought it would be good to discuss points of impact, as a way of getting an idea of what it is we're trying to do and how. So by points of impact, we are focusing today primarily on different sites and avenues of exhibition or display and circulation. So we'll be dealing first with mainstream sites such as galleries and museums, whether privately or publicly owned or situated in universities. And then later on, we'll be moving towards more alternative sites. But between those, we'll also try to deal with mass media and the press and other more pervasive platforms. So we'll be asking the resource persons some questions, and then we'll have a back and forth. Then after that, after each of those, as that goes, you guys should feel free to ask any follow-up questions or clarifications before we move on, so that we don't have to take something up from earlier. Okay, so the slideshow is just to get your ideas rolling. Try not to focus on that too much. So first, I'd like to start with getting an idea of the extent to which these practices, or these art practices that seek social transformation, whether through critique or through outright calls to overthrow the government and so on, are represented in galleries and museum spaces. Eileen, you and Duffy have worked in museums. Huh? Are social realist or political works common? Are they there all the time? Are they an exception more than the rule?
Well, I haven't been in the museum world for 3 years now. But at the time that Clara and I were working with Lopez Museum, I think it really depends on how much curatorial leverage the institution allows and how much initiative the curator brings into the equation. So in our case, you're able to bring in Renan, for instance. So there are a few artists that we were able to introduce into that stream world that we had some difficulty doing. Not that they know the whole story.
Yeah, like what sorts of negotiations?
Okay, well, with Renan very specifically, I think one of the strategies that kind of worked was you kind of depending on who you're speaking to, if it's, let's say, if it's someone from the museum board or someone who is in administration who does not share your political views, then you kind of I wouldn't say edit, but you tend to take into account where they're coming from when you try to pitch a project. So that's how we kind of negotiated around that. Eventually, we were feeling that the museum itself was closing off more and more. So by 2012, we called it quits there. So that's
Closing off towards these
yeah, that kind of, yeah. There was pressure and there was less and less room to do what we thought was a good thing to do in that particular platform.
What sorts of, since you got to know these, the administrations or administrators of the Lopez, what sorts of things were they reacting to? Or what were these places that they were coming from? Where were they?
In Renan's case, he had a very charged work on Hacienda Luisita. Well, not exactly with Hacienda, but there were images referencing the Aquinos, and it was in a very prominent place in the exhibition. So we were getting feedback from, let's say, the chair of the board, coming through the director, telling us that, my father has been asking up to when this show will be up, things like that.
Dropping hints.
Yeah. So there are things like that. Not that we ever really got castigated or had to close a show down earlier than scheduled. So there are things. In a way, they were a rather benign administration, because I've seen others that have had to really just close down whenever there's difficulty.
So, just to brief, since a lot of our guests aren't from here either, the Lopez Museum is owned by the Lopez family, which also controls one of our largest mass media
Right,
firms.
and what we had counted on was that one of the family's elders was very close to the Aquinos. So that was where the resistance was coming from.
Daphne?
Well, I haven't worked in a museum for a longer period because I was last in Ayala Museum in 2010. I worked for two directors. The first director was a bit more conservative because she was a librarian, Maritoni Ortigas. And the second director wasn't an artist, he was a businessman. His name was Bill Luz. And it gives you some sort of idea of the priorities of the Ayala Museum at the time, which was fundraising. Like the Lopez Museum, the Ayala Museum is also owned by a prominent family, the Zobel de Ayala family, and it's under the auspices of the Ayala Foundation. And at the time, actually, I don't know, I'm not so familiar how Ayala Foundation is run now, but at the time it was run by Vicky Garchitorena, and her priorities were education and getting married. Which she eventually did. And where was I? Yeah, so those are the priorities. As consequently, because of that, the funding of the Ayala Museum was dwindling to the point that we were expected to sort of finance ourselves. In terms of visitorship, in terms of ticket sales, in terms of partnerships. And because of that, the programming of the Ayala Museum shifted from something that was exhibition-based to something that was more education-based. That's why in the past 5 years, you've seen the Ayala Museum's programming becoming more expansive with a lot more focus on getting speakers, conferences, and all that, right? Like they have this Ambek Ocampo thing on history, which I started there. There was a thing called Design Talks. I don't know if they still do that. That's something we started there, but they weren't exhibition related anymore. They became something that reflected what audiences wanted. So we can bring people in and we can finance ourselves. So exhibitions, because the Ayala Museum did not have a substantial permanent collection, The permanent collection of the Ateneo Art Gallery is actually far more extensive, I think, the collection. In that side, when they were formulating, our curator Kenneth Esguerra and Lila Samson, when they were formulating exhibitions, they tended to focus on what the relationship with the collectors. To the point where I think now it's practically a collector platform. The exhibitions are centered around that. In terms of how we engage, we also have that same problem with politics, with society and all that. Since we are run by and owned by one of the prominent families who also supported the Aquinos, especially during Bill Luz's time, who was an active supporter and of our current president right now, Noynoy Aquino. The Ayala Museum became sort of a platform for him to promote the message of the campaign actually of the president. He visited the Ayala Museum. It became very big spectacle. He gave a speech and all that in the Ayala Museum at the time during the campaign period. And we also had an exhibition on his father, Ninoy, and were active in supporting the museum they have.
The Aquino Museum.
Yeah, the Aquino Museum. Yeah, we went there actually. We went there. So, in a sense, I wouldn't call it whitewashing. Right? In a sense, we were active in controlling. Since we were generating a lot of people coming into the museum, we started controlling the narrative of how this political approach was told, right? I remember that. And eventually, I left the museum before Bill Luz did. Eventually, Bill Luz also left the Ayala Museum and the Ayala Foundation, primarily because he joined the government later on. So, in a sense, our programming is really driven by audience generation now. I think that's a reality that a lot of museums are facing, and less on exhibitions, formulation of exhibitions. But this is just
But to a certain extent, it is still politically driven work. It's just coming from another side. It's
Yeah.
just coming from the state. It's coming from
Pretty
their
much,
allies.
yes. It's coming from the.
It is trying to shape.
It's coming from the alignment of the family that owns it,
Okay.
right? And of course, the Zobels are really known to be supportive of the Aquino family.
What about you, Mark and Leo? As artists working in these spaces or in museums and galleries, have you felt any of these pressures that Eileen and Duffy have mentioned in terms of either having to edit your work or tone it down?
My first solo exhibit was in Hiraya Gallery. So actually in Hiraya Gallery, it was encouraged. And so that's the difference. I think we found a home in Hiraya Gallery. A lot of younger artists were encouraged to pursue that path. So it wasn't so difficult at first. I think about 2 years after, we formed Sanggawa. And that group is very political, and the Hiraya Gallery is there also in the beginning. So we didn't have that problem with the galleries. Now I don't think there's a gallery like Hiraya now.
Okay, so instead of a suppressive atmosphere, it was encouraging. To what extent did they support you? Did they ever get any flack, for example, from the press or from criticism
Not so
from
much
here or
at
wherever?
that time.
Okay.
I don't remember. But I think the position was very clear from the start that gallery was taking that position.
Okay.
The only experience I have of some sort of, I would say this, censorship, if you like. It was not here, it was in Singapore. About 2000, I think it was 2009. It was Gloria Arroyo who was president then. Then the Philippine embassy in Singapore actually had, I don't know if they still have that now. They always have an annual art trek shows. They would partner with several galleries in Singapore and use them as a venue for exhibiting Filipino artists. And then I was in one of the galleries at the time, and Art Trek, by the way, is sponsored by the embassy, so there's government money there. And then in one of the works I had in the gallery had an anamorphic image showing the past President Arroyo as a kind of a mock. Well, anyway, it was the sleep of reason. That was the content, more or less, of the work. Since it was anamorphic, it's not very overtly, pointing to the president. But when they had, for some reason behind my knowledge, the people from the embassy pala went around the different venues, and then I think it was the head the consul general. It's not the head. It's Cruz, a certain Cruz from UP pa naman. UPBA. Okay. Who wrote the gallery saying that they saw a likeness of the image of the president depicted not in a very favorable context, etc. And that they were very concerned about it being part of Art Trek because the president was supposed to go around the galleries, and they didn't want, in short of saying, they didn't want the work to be hung. So that was the kind of pressure. I think the pressure was really more with the gallery than myself.
What happened? Did you have
In fairness to the gallery said, if we're not putting the work, if you're removing the work, then we might as well remove the entire show, the entire show. And then the resolution was to reschedule my show, really have my show a week after, outside of the Art Trek program. So
This was a private gallery, yes?
yes, it was a private gallery, but it was a partner of the yes,
GMA naman.
yeah, GMA. But I did not have direct dealings with the embassy, the Philippine embassy there. But it was formalized because there was a letter, and it was really stated outright. We saw blah 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 blah. If you cannot, meron pa rin. So there.
So, can you guys comment on the general reception you think that these practices get from, let's say, because there have been instances where, for example, what happened at National Press Club, with also with Gloria Arroyo, where she saw the work that she, I guess, commissioned, then saw certain things that weren't to her liking, and then had it changed. And is Boyet here? Boyet? Were you involved with the Angono guys at the time?
konti lang. Yung sinulat ko yung mga ganito sa mga.
Oh, so how did you guys react to this censorship? And then how far did it go? Did they have it changed? Were you guys charged with anything? Did you have to change it, or did they get someone else?
Dapat siguro sila hindi yung magkwento. Pero may alam ako konti. Kaya speaking, alam. So, kinampaign niya ng yung na para ma-expose yung nangyari. But archive na siguro. So, tapos naging part din siya ng Photo Festival, public art. Nakatunggalin nila yung press club mismo. Kasi si Egco, yung chairman ngayon ng National Press Club, ay galing din naman. So, tinawag pa NPA Neo Angono. Merong isang command sa Angono na ibinansag sa Neo Angono. So, command ng NPA na pinangalan kasi pa Neo Angono ISIS Collective. Yung pangalan na gano'n, tapos pinangalan sa Neo Angono. So, parang talagang ginawa silang kalwa.
Okay.
Binaran sila. Ang magandang bagay naman, marami silang okay. At talagang ang nangyari sa kanila. Yung mural niya nakatago na. Wala na rito yung mural. Ang balita ko kay Sir Egco ay dinispose nila. Yung mural. Dinispose. Wala na daw dito.
So they removed it, then they kept it, and then they threw it
Oo,
away.
kasi nga, parang napahiya sila. So, ito naman sa NPA ko, kasi nakakausap namin siya ngayon. At yun nga, galit na galit sila dun sa nangyari. Sitwasyon na yun. Pero balita ko, nag-a-approach na si Egco sa Neo ngayon, kahit na to na siya ang presidente ng press club. So, baka maayos nila.
But this was also all over the press, no? Compared to the other instances from Duffy, Edine, and Leo, where it's sort of just happening in the background, and then people don't really hear about these processes going on, no? So, but what about you guys? I mean, in working with these spaces, so you've also engaged in work with museums and with, hindi kita na-introduce kanina. Kasi wala ka dun sa field of it. So this is Randy Nobleza. He's with Marinducanon Studies Center and Info Shop. And he's also part of the outfit called Raju Team, which is a pirate radio collective. Last February, we had the opportunity to work with them, Sid and Lian in particular, in a project at the Vargas Museum. So they brought together a lot of anarchists who weren't that used to working within these spaces. And so I'd like to also ask, like, what sorts of limitations or advantages did you get from these from such a place, from working within such a place? I mean, since we do try to mount these exhibitions and these works in these spaces, whether or not we get suppressed or censored, it would be a good thing to know, like, what do we want to get out of it, or what advantages do you see in these spaces that you don't usually encounter?
Sa bahagi ng Marinducanon Info Shop, kagaya ng iba pang mga info shop na kasama doon sa Patos na exhibit na part ng Makawan, kasama ko rin yung isa sa nagpapatakbo ng info shop dito, si Chung. So, sila yun sa Ethnico Bandido info shop. So, nung in-approach kami ni Lian, ng Planting Rice, para dun sa participation namin sa gallery. Siyempre, hindi kami familiar dun sa Tobago. Kaya naisip lang namin na since more than 5 weeks yung duration, so marami kami pwedeng activity na pwedeng gawin. So wala talaga kami mga output na ginagawa as event-based yun. Ino-organize na mga info shop. So like yung Ethnico Bandido info shop. So nag-set up sila ng solar guerrilla na power. Tapos nakatulong ito sa ginagawa namin na radyo itim. Tapos just recently, during the State of the Nation address, we just had singing kalikasan ng Plaza. So outside the museum space, we try to appropriate this within Vargas Museum for the duration of 5 weeks. So we had activities like workshop of pirate radio and pirate bunks, more tool making and tool for climate change, about issues that are more political than that has something to do with art. So more political than art. So it was an opportunity for autonomous group to make use of the space, make it a common space so that we can also invite friends and also meet new friends that are not part of the same circle. So it's more of an opportunity for autonomous group like Parinducanan and Ethnico Bandido to reach out to other networks that we don't usually get to interact with.
Mark or Leo, I mean, when you mount works that have this kind of content or certain political or critical content in these exhibitions, in these spaces, what do you hope to achieve? I mean, why there as opposed to say an ED or a classroom or streams?
I think it was later in the 90s. Yeah. That direction is very clear for us. What we wanted to achieve at that time was if we make a series of large-scale works, then they had to look good in black and white because it will be shown in newspapers. So may mga ganun pang considerations. So, kailangan high contrast, mga ganun. Tapos, sinabay namin sa mga events that happened during the year. So, kung may Miss Universe pageant, may mural kami pang Miss Universe, coming of the Pope, gano'n. So, siguro mga 8 events yan, within 1 year, all big paintings, all high contrast. And I think almost all also made it to the newspapers. So, kinakalat talaga siya. And we didn't call it art. We used maybe the spaces that are used for art. We call them editorial works. So, it wasn't art.
What was the idea behind this change of terminology? Why
We
did you
wanted
want
to be understood. So siguro ganun. We wanted a language that would connect to more people. Kasi I think art has isolated itself. I think we thought that art has isolated itself so much. So this is very direct, very literal. Yeah, this was effective.
So you also utilize the press? Or were these the gallery's contacts, or did you work on that as well?
Kasama sa iyo hardware. Okay naman siya. And Sanggawa also was censored sa church. We were asked to do a painting in the church. And it was about Maria. And we made brown skin instead of carrying Jesus, she carried the masses and she was on top of a crocodile. So, hindi siya tinanggap sa simbahan.
Sacrificial servant. So what was it? Had you finished already, or was it just from the sketch?
Nasa kumbento na rin, pero it's not in the church.
Tapos
Oo nga. Malabo. Malabo.
But,
what is the driving, what are the main reasons for mounting these kinds of works within gallery spaces and museums as opposed to elsewhere? What sorts of gains do you think, or advantages do you think that these spaces offer? Or what that are distinct to them, or
can only speak. Hindi naman ako overtly
yeah.
political man. The content of my works anyway are not overtly political, although they're political as far as I'm concerned. But it's not like issue-oriented or anything like that. So in a sense, it does not play in sa akin when I decide to when I have a show or when I do exhibit. But there are many opportunities anyway, and I think you know that, of group exhibits where there is a rationale. You want to say something like yung Bakawan, and those are the opportunities when you're able to engage people in a certain kind of space. Because ako, para sa akin, how do you say this? It's a contradiction of terms, especially when you profess to have a political statement or what have you, and put it in a situation where it's very ironic, where it's really outright selling. You know what I mean? Parang these things, I think, parang become more effective, or assume more integrity. It has a context around it. Yung parang,
But for example, you curated the Tin House show for, we forgot to thank for all the coffee. Tin House show with all the cans at the art fair.
oh yeah,
Yes, wasn't that an overt critique of the market that art fairs were? And so,
yeah.
so how did that?
Because it was perfect to put it in an art fair. I mean, that's the most perfect thing to do. If there was an exhibit like that placed in isolation, like for example, it was just exhibited in probably in October in 1 or 3 galleries in Metro Manila, then certainly the audience reach is certainly smaller. But if it's in an art fair, and surely the very people whom you want to sort of speak to, whether you're a collector, whether you're just a student, are almost all there. So I think that was it's the ironic, the contradictory, kasi syempre gallery rin yung nag-present nun, di ba? Even the artists also, the nature of the issue that was being brought up, because it is contradictory, was just parang on point, I think. So I think that was a contradictory it may have been, no? And in fact, sa humor, self-deprecating humor yun parang ganon. I think it was just right there. And siguro that was the political part of it. It's just parang a shame that I don't think many got the joke. Yung ganon.
I got it.
Yeah, yun ganon. Yeah, di ba? Parang, but ito, di ba? Ito actually,
Kasi in that sense, these spaces also present an opportunity to address their own workings.
Yeah. We actually we expected more kind of a resistance. It was kind of frustrating because we were expecting almost like kind of a resistance, a kind of a ganon, and then the organizers loved the idea. Okay, they loved the idea. Something's wrong here. Parang ganon. Maybe we should have stronger words. I don't know. Parang
Because in a similar way, the way Ethos Pathos was organized, it helped sort of like reshape how the museum itself as a space functioned. It wasn't just looking around at things, or it wasn't just all according to one curator. It was very collaborative. They broke it up. We're coming together in that space. So that was one opportunity I think that they took advantage of. In the case of the art fair, yeah, pero you wish you were censored.
No, actually there was some form of si Alwin kasi, naliit eh. Dapat mas maaga yung mga lata niya. Oh, yun, no. But I don't think it was effective. I think it was the media who liked it, period. They just had a story and angle to ganon, but
We were the first Filipino exhibit sa Hirayan. We were involved in that. Actually, yung final, yung press, it reached the front page. Isang newspaper. Tapos yung work ni Binto Lianan. Puro mga politiko. So, siguro yun yung victory rin doon. Tapos, naging traveling exhibit din siya. So, parang version din.
I'll get to like press reach in a bit. But I mean, how do these spaces with your curatorial platform, when you plan everything out, so what do you think these spaces have to offer in particular that you might not have elsewhere apart from just plain old space? These spaces being galleries and museums. What do they have? I mean, why would you choose to have an exhibition there as opposed to elsewhere?
I'm not sure that's a question that you put to me.
I mean, I guess to everyone, can we try to concretize the reach of these spaces in terms of what sorts of attendance do they have? What sorts of patronage do they attract? What sorts of mileage, or whether media or press, or publications, do they carry with them? But you sort of immediately think, well, they're going to have that ready, and I don't have to worry about it, and so on. The works will have some sort of afterlife.
Okay, so when you're talking about the museum, then there's an infrastructure that supports the exhibition making process. So in the case of our work in Lopez, we had the Lopez Library Archives to work out of, which a big bulk consists of archives from the Manila Chronicle. So that's a genuine niche for that particular institution. Also at the time, again, I think it also has to do with a lot of savvy in terms of the mediation that the curator might do in behalf of the artists working with the institution. So yun nga, in the case of Renan and Kiri and the other artists that we work with, it would always be a conscious decision that we would position ourselves in the firing line. We tried to shield the artists from any possible difficulties that might be coming out of the institution. If we could take it, we would take it instead of asking the artists to swing to their direction. I think sa inyo meron ganun eh. Anyway, so there's that. Also, I think just to wrap it up, for the museum context, there's a particular, well, it's a bit of a myth at this point because some museums are really, kind of driven by commercial interest to some extent in their programming already. But if in the ideal world, and the museum is still a place where you could show works that might be difficult to show in a solid text. And of course, in our case, we were looking at, for instance, we would get tour groups of like 300 students at a time from universities. So that's an audience that doesn't get sent to a selling gallery. Kasi we're still looked at as a learning institution at that point. So yeah, those are the
Yeah, because we also work with some of Jack's galleries.
Well, here's the thing. The question is, what are the advantages in working in these traditional mainstream spaces, or like museums, galleries, etc. You have to understand from a media perspective, visual art is still seen as niche coverage. So, like the mainstream media here in the Philippines, it's like Monday, and it's like, if you've noticed, there has been a lessening of the number of pages. It's because if you look at the arts, it's lumped together in lifestyle, right? They usually only have one editor who handles all lifestyle subjects, and they have like one staff writer who may or may not specialize in visual arts. So they're reliant on things like press releases. They're reliant on things like coordination with some sort of marketing apparatus, which these institutions most likely have, more than if an individual artist wanted to get his point across. In the case of Tinao and Art Fair Philippines regularly and consistently sends out messages to the press that this is what's going to show, this is where it's going to happen, this is the venue, etc. On a more cynical note, there is also a lot of cozy relationship between the organizers or owners or the people who control these spaces and institutions, and sometimes the editor or publisher of the whatever media outlet they're sending these things to. So it's more likely than not that the press will sniff out anything that an artist might want to come up with at these events, more than if they put it in alternative spaces, unless something happens, something large or big happens, right?
How does that work, for example, since Art Plus magazine is also owned by Jack Pico? How do you guys negotiate coverage there?
For Jack stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. What's that? So if you don't know Jack Pico is the owner of Gallery of New York. He also publishes the magazine. On one level, I can say he stepped back from it because I think, in his world, he doesn't need the magazine anymore to market his events consistently. But we derive our independence from our ability to generate ads. And if Jack sees that we can generate ads on our own, he is less likely to step in and demand that the magazine publishes his shows, his programming. That's on one end. On the other end, if he does give money, because the magazine is perennially red, black, right? Sometimes we're in the red, sometimes we're in the black. Thankfully, for the last 2 years, we're in the black. So that's one thing. But there was a while when it was in the red, right? And my responsibility is always to make sure that the writers have a platform to publish their works, because we've never censored an article. We've never done that. And Jack doesn't have that many shows anyway, right? So I guess it's his prerogative as a publisher to control it. But I think it's also no different from any other media company that is controlled by special interests as well. So there is some influence, but there is still a certain degree of independence that is, no, not really independence, wait, let me rephrase that. There is still veneer of independence that we try to get from the ads that we generate. Now that's another issue, right? I mean, Jack's influence is one issue entirely, but how ads influence our own content is another issue, right? A good example is, wait, is it okay? I keep talking. A good example is, what's a good example? I don't know how open I can be about this. Our latest cover, buy issues, you can support us, right? But our latest cover has, there are considerations. It's Bencat, right? It's our latest cover, right? And there are considerations of, because it's his 50th year as an artist of some sort, as a creative person, and that there's an entire year of worth of programming and activities that he has planned out with other museums, with his own museum. But it was also a consideration that he also brought, his image also brings a lot of advertisers, right? Swatch, for instance, Freeway, right? Freeway. That was also a consideration because ultimately my role as an editor is the survival of the magazine. And
So how would these same sorted processes apply to you guys featuring political works or works, the sorts of works we're talking about today?
well, thankfully,
Or do other factors also like
the political works. Not necessarily. Jack has never imposed a political
things the advertisers do?
No, they don't. The advertisers do not impose it, but we're sensitive to it.
Maybe a follow-up?
Regarding the press, very much interested in the relationship between the level of how mainstream the press is. Because I noticed that the more mainstream or the more commercial the press is, it has an inverse proportion to the political content of the work or the political affiliation of artists that's featured in the press. So is there like a mechanism for who gets marketed or what gets marketed?
Well, we're an art magazine, so it's easier for us to try and cover everything within the bounds of like 100 to 120 pages. Right? I imagine it's harder for a broadsheet or even a right now Raptor, all of that. Right? They are. I've noticed that. I don't know. In terms of censorship, kasi like writers, journalists, art journalists tend to self-censor themselves because there are threats that might happen, like galleries closing themselves off, right? Or prohibiting access to their artists, or all sorts of things, right? So there is some sort of like, I'm talking about art journalists. Right? That's a thing of this. But yeah,
Because what I had in mind was the case of Video News, CCTV. And of course, the television is part of the press. And the sad thing about it is that I don't know if there was any platform wherein the real issues were discussed, and not in terms of how sensationalized the event became.
well, but with that particular event, parang I question like the venue itself played a part in it, right? Because it happened in the CCP. That's when the press latched onto it because it happened in the CCP, because of the context of the CCP. Whether it was sensationalized or not. I guess there is an element to that. I guess there is an element, but that was covered by that wasn't covered by the lifestyle art sections of the press. That was covered by mainstream journalism.
I think that's his point.
Yeah.
Since you mentioned that art is lumped with lifestyle.
Yeah, yes, it is.
Can I just...
One very big an assumption that seems to be operating here is that if it's political, it's hard to sell, but that's not always the case.
Yeah.
For instance, the reason I think Medeo's altercation with media went that way is because the controversy got fueled precisely because it's political. It's the handling that was problematic. It got play, but it didn't get critical play. So I think those are two different things. Even an institution might be more open to showing political work because it gives them a bit of credit, intellectual or academic reputation.
Do we have questions for that? Any points you'd like to clarify or fraud? Okay. So, still on the point of reach of these institutions and these galleries, who do you see as your publics in these spaces?
With these spaces.
I mean, of course, given already their ability to reach out to the press, but also in terms of like people being able to engage with the work, to see it, or
Usually it's just the regular gallery goers, museum goers. If you show in a gallery, then that's the expected audience. There's this new creature, art fairs nowadays. So, wherein there's 4 or 5 days of a show, and you have 60,000 people viewing the whole show. So let's say just about half would see your work, then that's 30,000. In a gallery show, you're lucky to have 300 for the entire 3 weeks. So, iba rin yung public na, iba rin yung audience na. Which public are you
so
talking about?
maybe we can take them. Maybe we can take them one by one. So museums. I mean, Eileen's also already sort of outlined that museums have this since they have this educational mandate. Was that also the case with Ayala, Rafi? Yeah, you also.
Well, not so much. This is one of the plus spaces.
But for example, with
Kasi ito,
private galleries.
sa Pinto ngayon, I think one Sunday is 600, 700 people.
So what's that?
Just one Sunday. Lowest nila 100 people. Usually mga 300 a day. So madami. Maganda kung sa Pinto kasi maraming ganun show.
But it's private gallery, you're lucky to get, am I right? Did I hear you right?
300 siguro, dami na.
The whole run of the show. So,
Pipiliin mo rin.
fair. How many people did you get in your Vargas run?
During the 5-week period, it was always asked by the one who manages the museum how much foot traffic is generated. I don't think we were able to get the target that the museum is looking, but we don't see it the same way that the museum is seeing the foot traffic. But even if the numbers doesn't count, we count the diversity of people coming. So we like people who are coming in that we don't know and we're not very familiar with. So that's our target. coming in that we're not very familiar with, like strangers, autonomous groups. So we like to see more people coming in that we're not very familiar with, like strangers to come in and engage more with the activities and events that we prepare during the 5-week period. That's how we imagine the public that we are trying to engage.
So, that you're looking for like people with a particular character, yeah, for variety, it's not just volume.
Because the nature of the one that I'm referring to is made up of different collectives and different groups. So I could just say on my end, what I'm trying to look for is diversity. Perhaps others would invite friends or people that they already know. We might differ in people.
Yeah, because earlier you emphasized that your work has emphasis more on the political rather than the art. So that's a different objective rather than an art fair piece or art. So you mentioned like 60,000 viewers in an art fair. So you would have a different objective for your exhibit.
Apart from sheer volume, can we also talk about the different characters or of these audience or these publics? I mean, to what extent do these spaces, whether they're museums or private galleries, to what extent do they attract or repel particular publics? I mean, do people just walk in from the street often? You know, I mean, the guy selling banana cue. Is that your gallery goer? Who are we talking about when we talk about lenders?
I'd love to see that. It's ultimately, first off, it's ultimately down to the location. Ayala Museum is in the business district. That's one part of it, right? Access to these areas. Of course, you know, there have been, at various times, there are laws that prohibit certain people, you know, like in Makati, right? You're not allowed to sell things on the street at certain times, right? So another thing is admission cost. Another thing is admission costs, right? That's a very important factor. As a matter of fact, that was when we did a survey of why people didn't go to Ayala Museum before. That was the main reason why they didn't go, because they found it prohibitive and that there wasn't enough value. Like if you spend 250 pesos on this versus 250 pesos to watch a movie, you gotta watch a movie.
Why would I give 250 pesos to get the Ayala as a tax bill?
Right. I don't work there anymore. But yeah, that's also another reason I think that it's the accessibility of certain people. It's prohibitive. It's a barrier to that. So in the end, your audience tends to fit a certain kind of profile.
You get more collectors,
it's like, I suppose, more of the higher. Yeah, something like that.
Do they even still come, or do they just
Collectors.
do they just phone in?
Strange. There's something strange about. I always found something strange about that. You know, you're charging people like students and the general public, but the collectors can just phone in and say, you know, I have a work there that's unknown. I get like complimentary access, or I know someone, right? I get complimentary access. Right? So you're prohibiting people who the artist himself or herself probably want to see the work. And you're bringing in people who the art, who doesn't really get anything out of it besides collector value.
Ako dati parang intimidated pumasok ng Luis Gallery. No? Mga ganun. So, there are spaces na I'm not comfortable entering when I was young. So, parang nung bata ka pa. So, I've never really liked Glee. Yung ganun ka I'm going past parang it was never comfortable for me. So, that's the reason why I wouldn't enter such spaces before. So, pupunta ako sa Heritage Art Gallery nang kasi iba yung dating. So, sa tingin ko, hindi lang ako yung matami. Parang mahihiyang pumasok sa mga ganun lugar. Of course, ngayon, sanay na. Pero noon,
And
dahil lang doon, hindi ako papasok.
this is also this strange class biases that happen even in the openings. There was a time when we'd go to Mega Mall, basically just to mooch on booze. You know, we didn't care what show it was. But in order to do that, our group of friends would like delineate. Okay, you guys look okay, so you guys go first. and then you guys can the other guys can show up, and then we'll greet you and pretend we're all friends, and then we're all welcome. You know, because I've had friends who were not welcome to their own shows because they're dark, or they look dirty. You know, so I don't know if this is also something you've noticed in other galleries.
Their own shows.
Or in your own shows. Like,
Galleries should research first.
Baka it's more helpful if there is really a study on it. If you have data, it's hard because we're just discussing personal experiences, and then given the complexity and the diversity of the people who possibly have gone to museums even without our knowledge. Kasi sometimes we're speaking here, we're also speaking from our own limited and biased perspective of who goes to galleries anyway. Maybe, I'm not aware, are there students out there who actually record this, put it in a more systematic inquiry, exactly who actually goes to museums, yung merong data, yung data, yung ganon. Meron ba? May ganon. But systematic studies, maybe there is data, maybe there is statistics, but yung a study that covers all museums, whether in Manila, yung ganon, para we're able to discuss it even more, parang we can make a better analysis, I guess. Kasi sometimes we just think na ganon, baka hindi totoo yan in other places. Maybe in provincial museums, it's really different. Diba? So,
museums not
hard pag walang data
In your experience in museums, were there no measures taken in order to sort of record or measure the audiences that were coming, the demographics?
But it's only for the purpose of that.
siguro meron.
Hindi yung merong nagsa-study for
Sure, there are networks of museums.
projects sa NCCA or something.
Speaking of audit, I think you're
Diba? Parang wala
No, we did naman before. We did, but
internal.
internally, some market research. It was for the purpose of for sort of like trying to figure out how to attract more people to be, what do they want to see versus a movie.
It's something we could try.
kind of project, parang maybe we don't understand really.
Isa sa finance hack.
Ah?
Hands up.
Oh, they do that abroad.
Oo, doon yan. Doon kasi yan. Oo, parang hindi na. Oo,
Somebody did do that. I remember
meron ba?
somebody was collecting. I don't know who. I think it was someone from abroad. She was collecting visitorship data from museums. That's when we found out that that's precisely when we found out that visitorship dipped when we started collating the data. But it wasn't Filipino. It was someone abroad.
Baka UC lang.
Before we move on to alternative sites, do you have questions regarding for our research persons, or even insights you'd like to share regarding how museums and galleries run in terms of the topics that they welcome or repel, or
In our context?
that would be great.
Well, okay, I'm from Croatia and it's in Europe. Well, it's the situation there is like opposite to here. So since we don't have private institutions, all the museums are public, and the infrastructure and the programming is financed through the state budget. It's changing a bit in the past 20 years, but very, very slowly. There are some small commercial museums opening, like Museum of Broken Relationships, then Museum of Torture, or things like that have a lot more, how to say, commercial agenda and are more fun-like and not involved in creating different kind of discourses in the sense of art practices, cultural education, and socializing. So I think in that sense that things are very hard to compare, because the whole museum infrastructures, from the historic ones to nature museum, museum of technology, or to contemporary arts, is something that is funded. The funds are deteriorating slowly but very openly, and this situation is going to change. And the other problem that is also present in the sense is that the institutions are competing for the public funds for the programming with independent actors, which are for running small gallery spaces, residential spaces, research, or this kind of programming. And there's a huge debate about the certain kind of competition between public and independent spaces, in the sense that they are somehow competitive, which I think is, in a sense, not very precise diagnosis, because the independent actors have a certain kind of pushing and motivating role in making institutional framework, which is rather slow, mastodon infrastructure that is having a completely different approach and still doesn't have needs to follow what's going on in a time-wise sense. So in that sense, they're very much complementary, and also the borders between these two types of actors. And when I'm talking about independent spaces, I precisely mean think of non-governmental, non-profit subjects, because commercial ones are still rare. The art market is almost non-existent. Majority of artworks are bought by the huge foreign foundations who have huge amount of money. So Eastern European and Southeastern European arts from the second part of the 20th century are mostly owned by two foundations, Generali and Erste. So in that sense, museums do not fulfill this kind of role they had previously. And the other part, but
To what extent?
maybe I should stop because it's getting too much confusion.
Because it's getting a bit interdependent, but how is it? Since given this different framework, whether of funding and state support, this near absence of the art market,
Yeah.
how do works with political motivation or subject matter or how do they fare in this system, in this setup?
But I think it perfectly fits into the system. It fits perfectly, like the criticism is appropriated, so there is no such thing as censorship. The freedom of speech is something that allows you to tell whatever you can, and the system is trying to find a way how to appropriate it into it in order to represent itself as open and liberal.
Tanong ako, may tanong ako. Which agency of the government takes care of the museum? It's a Ministry of
They
Culture
belong to
or?
the Ministry of Culture,
Ah,
yes.
okay. They have a Ministry of Culture.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. No, we don't.
Oh.
But and the information or media is also under the Ministry of Culture.
Ours is subsumed under education.
Commission.
That's different.
Ito ay nila commission.
So it's perfectly fine to criticize the government, state,
Yeah.
to deal with like issues in the market.
It doesn't change anything.
Yes, if I might add a perspective from Germany, it's quite the same. So a piece of work which doesn't do institutional critique wouldn't be considered as a piece of art. So it's actually it's a perversion of the art system itself. It's art for the art, for the intellectual elites, and yes, it doesn't. It's appreciated. It's even appreciated. So it's the most I think powerless to empower the transformation of art is really to appreciate this, and this gives this sucks the strength of the transformational action of art and the impact has on society itself. So it's actually yes, it's a really curious and perversion of the art system itself.
Were you saying it as something integral or implicit within these spaces, since you were also talking about how these spaces are only
we have a very
patronized by an intellectual elite?
We have a very liberal system. We have government institutions, we have off spaces. It's saturated. We have a very saturated structure in every kind of sense. So there is no need to add something up to that. We have Documenta, right? Like the German art discourse is, I think, a very important discourse in the art world, and it's full of critique. So actually what to do is you do the opposite. Artists tend to not just produce art which is to perceive and gets the central meaning back to the art for art, the purpose. And it's pluralism in its really sense of core.
But in that sense, we're all part of the European Union.
Yes.
There's some substantial financial funds that are financing and supporting cultural and art production. And there are two topics on the agenda currently. One is community work and engagement of culture and arts with the community, and the second one is audience development. Which means working on the audience and attracting new audiences, spreading the circle of people who are attending cultural and artistic events, participating in them. And these two agendas are somehow intertwined, And it's something, I think that this comes from this kind of discourse where the criticism is well accepted and is giving to the system the notion of progressiveness and progressiveness.
Yes. So yes, is the power of art. And we have this utopian situation you just mentioned. Actually, in Munich, we have this well-structured, well-situated society, art market. We have Sundays, so all the museums are just for €1, which is everyone can afford it and everyone uses it. So it's a form of entertainment sector, which we have in telenovelas. So people, the intellectual elites, just what would you call it? Like they yeah, it's pretty much vice versa. I think it's a perverted system of
But I think that this is somehow paralyzing the critical capacity
yes,
of the
yes,
arts.
yes. So,
But on the other side, there are also many programs, especially, for example, in Germany and in Austria, where they have programs for the poor people who don't have enough money to go to museums or to go to cultural events or whatever, that are offering them very cheap or even free tickets for theater performances, concerts, galleries, museums, and so on. So, in that sense, policies are also going in the direction of socializing and gathering people into the cultural and art sphere. So it's very complicated situation in the sense of arts and culture having the capacity to, let's say, kind of make a U-turn in the dynamics.
yeah.
Thank you.
I remember like on the topic of like free museums. I remember there was a free museum in Ayala Museum once. I think they do it a lot now. But they also invite a lot of corporations. I don't know if it's the same in Europe. Free museum day that we have in Ayala, we used to have in Ayala Museum, right? Becomes an opportunity to partner with
Free museum?
yeah, they become free access. They can come into the museums. Anyone, one day, usually 1 day in a month.
Yeah, we have what's called museum nights.
Yeah. But it becomes like a platform to exhibit the latest, like for their corporate partners to sort of like present what they have, right? Yeah, like Ayala Museum is Apple, Power Mac or Samsung or what have you, right? So it becomes more about that experience and actual real engagement. I don't know if it's the same in Europe, right? That but
No, this is just
it's just completely just access.
this is happening twice a year. And in Croatia, I don't know how it's in Germany, but this commercial model that is taken from to like promote culture and attract people to come. So all the museums and theater performances are free, and it's called museum night and theater night, and then people go in huge masses, but looking at art or whatever, just going there. And the whole city is stuck, you can't move, but I think it's still good because museums are actually empty. There's not too many people to find.
Before we move on to discussing alternative spaces, we'd like to take 10-15 minute break just to stretch your legs, have a cigarette, have some more coffee. The coffee is free. Snacks. Yeah, thanks everyone.